the power of nonviolence at work in the healing and reconciliation that has taken place at this convention. Governor Dukakis, I want to commend you for conducting your campaign on a consistently high plane and spirit. I come to this convention tonight to remind you that this is what the dream is all about. I come also to remind you that for many Americans, the dream is still deferred despite the progress of the last 25 years. Something is still wrong when 32 million Americans are living in poverty in the richest nation on the face of the earth, and something is very wrong when nearly 13 million of them are children. This is a national disgrace. We cannot allow this to go unchallenged. As Americans, let us take the challenge of making those whom the Bible calls the least of these, victims of AIDS, the poor and the homeless, a top priority. Let us not abandon the victims of neglect. It would be tragic, a tragic mistake, to attract the haves to any political party at the expense of the have-nots. We can feed our hungry. We can provide decent housing for all of our citizens. We can provide jobs, skills, training, and daycare for the poor and unemployed so that they can put bread on their own tables. We can help every American who wants to work to be productive to do so. We can end the violence of nuclear war, apartheid, racism, joblessness, terrorism, drugs, and the violence in our homes, in our schools, and in our streets, if only we can find the will, and we must. And finally, my brothers and sisters, we can be proud of our economic prosperity and the blessings of freedom. But if we want to be, and if we want the gospel of freedom spread and human rights throughout the world, we must lead by our moral example. We can and we must be peacemakers. I ask you, my friends, please do not forsake Martin's dream. And I join with Jesse Jackson in appealing to you to keep hope alive. I challenge you to remember the dream. Thank you.
Delegates and honored guests, I ask you to turn your view up here to the Cherokee Strip. In in the far, far corner of the hall, where sit the Oklahoma delegation, I want to introduce one of the great Americans of our time, a former chairman of this convention, a former Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, a scholar, a statesman, a mentor of mine, that little giant from Little Dixie, the former Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Carl Albert. And now I am about to turn this gavel over to one of our co-chairs. Before I do that, I want to say something about him and about this dream of which Coretta Scott King spoke so eloquently. Because the dream, slowly, little by little, is coming true. Its awakening is inexorable. Back in World War II, 45 years ago, there was one organization in our military forces that covered itself with more glory, whose members earned more decorations for bravery, for gallantry in combat and under fire than any other unit in the United States Armed Services in that fight against despotism and tyranny. And do you know what that unit was? It was the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, made up exclusively of Japanese American citizens fighting for the United States in World War II. To our shame, under the duress of war, we incarcerated many thousands of loyal Japanese American families and robbed of them their freedoms during that period simply because we feared their ancestry. Now that wrong has been corrected, largely due to legislation introduced by the next chairman of this convention, Norman Mineta of San Jose, California. He is by every measurement a distinguished and accomplished lawmaker, a former mayor of San Jose, a member of the United States Congress for 14 years, elected by his colleagues, Deputy Majority Whip of the Congress. His list of legislative accomplishments would exhaust me to recite it and you to hear it, but I bring to you a great American, a great legislator, a lawmaker's lawmaker, and an American's American, your co-chair of the convention, to whom I turn over the gavel, my friend and colleague, Norm Mineta of California.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed my honor and privilege to serve as a co-chair of the 1988 Democratic National Convention. and we are continuing this great convention under your able leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, in states across America, Democratic governors are searching for new ideas, solving problems, and preparing for the future. Governor Jerry Baliles of Virginia is that kind of governor. He is building for the 21st century, and indeed, Virginians are already reaping the benefits of his strong administrative nature. Ladies and gentlemen, to introduce some of our leading Democratic governors, it is my honor to introduce the next governor, who's going to chair the National Governors Association and the present governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia, Jerry Baliles.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, fellow Democrats. Throughout its history, the Democratic Party has fought for liberty and demanded justice. We have labored to advance equality. We have worked to create opportunity. But the Democratic Party is more than just an organization. It is more than a device. It is more than a label. We are a party of people, restless, diverse, lively. We are a party of ideals, of hope, of commitment and resolve. We live, we dream, but that is not enough. We must also act. We must build, we must achieve. We must take our idealism, match it with realism, and govern our country so that we leave something more than we found. That is why Franklin Roosevelt invested to rebuild a nation. That is why Harry Truman stood against foreign aggression. That is why John Kennedy opened a new frontier. Fellow Democrats, that spirit now lives in America's state capitals among the Democratic governors. Governors have put our state capitals on the front lines against intolerance. They have pushed better schools for our children and better pay for our teachers. They seek better roads, better housing, better education, and they do it all with a balanced budget. Democratic governors are inspired by ideals, but focused on results. Ladies and gentlemen, this process works for America. It works in Michigan because Jim Blanchard envisioned factories of the future. It works in Arkansas because Bill Clinton made education the first best hope of his state's future. It works in Maryland because Don Schaefer has made business a partner with environmental protection. And ladies and gentlemen, it works in Massachusetts because our next president, Mike Dukakis, has made economic growth the basis for opportunity. In state after state, where Democratic governors have been elected to lead, they have kept faith with the people of this country. Their leadership, their commitments, and their achievements span the hopes and the geography of this nation, and I would like for you to meet them. First, the governor of Alaska, Steve Cooper. The governor of Arizona, Rose Mofford. The governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton. The governor of Colorado, Roy Romer. The governor of Connecticut, Bill O'Neill. The governor of Georgia, Joe Frank Harris. The governor of Hawaii, John Wahi. The governor of Idaho, Cecil Andrus. The governor of Kentucky, Wallace Wilkinson. The governor of Maryland, Don Schaefer. The governor of Michigan, Jim Blanchard. The governor of Mississippi, Ray Mabus. the Governor of Montana, Ted Swindon, the Governor of Nevada, Dick Bryan, the Governor of New York, Mario Cuomo, the Governor of North Dakota, George Sinner, the Governor of Ohio, Dick Celeste, the Governor of Pennsylvania, Bob Casey, the Governor of Tennessee, Ned Ray McWhirter, the Governor of Vermont, Madeline Kunin, the Governor of Washington, Booth Gardner, the Governor of Wyoming, Mike Sullivan, and from the American territories, the Governor of Puerto Rico, Rafael Hernandez Colon, the Governor of American Samoa, A.P. Lutali, and the Governor of the Virgin Islands, Alexander Farrelly. Fellow Democrats, there is one other governor who will be here tomorrow night. From Massachusetts, the next President of the United States, Michael Dukakis.
At this time, it gives me a great deal of privilege, pleasure to introduce the first woman governor of Kentucky and the 1984 chair of the Democratic National Convention, Governor Martha Lane Collins.
Of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I thank you for the privilege of speaking with you this evening. I stand before you as a wife and a mother, as a former school teacher and a former governor, and as a woman who has come up through the ranks of the Democratic Party. I'm here to talk about women and the Democratic Party. Women and this campaign that will put Michael Dukakis in the White House. In 1984, a majority of the American women voted Republican. But I want to tell you tonight, that won't happen in 1988. It won't happen because American women are tired of the Republican record of the past 8 years. They've had enough. And all of them will be coming home to us, to the Democratic Party, in November. They're coming home because they recognize that no political party has broken more ground, created more opportunities than the Democratic Party. No political party has accomplished more to give women a voice, a full voice, in determining their destiny and America's destiny than the Democratic Party. I stand along with many others. Shirley Chisholm in 1972, Barbara Jordan in 1976, Geraldine Ferraro in 1984, Ann Richards in 1988. And the Democratic Party gave me the chance to be a convention delegate, to serve on the Democratic National Committee, and to preside as chairman of the 1984 Democratic National Convention in San Francisco. The Democratic Party enabled me to move from teaching in the classroom to leading the reform of Kentucky's public schools. It was the Democratic Party that led my path to cross with a fellow governor from Massachusetts with the name of Michael Dukakis. And here's what I can tell you about Michael Dukakis. His vision for this country is focused on finding solutions, long-term, lasting solutions to the problems that we as individuals and as a nation face. Michael Dukakis understands that women want equality and an opportunity to share in the American dream. Michael Dukakis understands that women want jobs and economic security, and most of all, public policies that pay more than lip service when it comes to the issues of family and social needs. Now, I've been with Michael Dukakis at town meetings in Massachusetts and with groups of school children in Kentucky. So let me tell you something else about Michael Dukakis. He really cares. He knows that economic opportunity is not just a women's issue, it's an American issue. Because when working women make less than men in every job, at every educational level, something is not right. He knows that poverty is not just women's issue, but an American issue. When nearly half of all female-headed families live at or below the poverty level, something's not right. He knows that children are not just women's issues, but an American issue. Because when illegal drugs destroy our young people's future, then something is not right. As president, Michael Dukakis will bring out the best in America. He'll bring this nation together, just as he's brought our party together. Now, we all know that America can be better. Better for our children, better for our grandchildren, and better for all of us. Tonight, we stand united. The party of Barbara Jordan and Albert Gore, the party of Ann Richards and Richard Gephardt, the party of Jesse Jackson and Lloyd Benson, and together, all of us, behind Michael Dukakis, will move this nation closer to the promise that is America. Good night, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Representative Lindy Boggs. Lindy is a gracious member of the House of Representatives, a powerful member of the Appropriations Committee, and chair of the Democratic Convention in 1976. Representative Lindy Boggs of Louisiana.
How fitting it is to be here in this great and glorious Democratic Convention on the 200th anniversary of the first federal election, and to know how fitting it also is that we're going to be addressed next by a senator from Connecticut, because it was the Connecticut Compromise in the Constitutional Convention that allowed this election this year to take place. It created a bicameral Congress, which made it possible for most of the delegates to ratify the Constitution. And we have here tonight the son of Connecticut and the son of a former Senator of Connecticut, who is indeed one of the great leaders of our country. He is on the Foreign Relations Committee, where you know his proud record in Central American affairs. He is on Labor and Human Services Committee, where he is the chief sponsor of this year's great Child Care Act and the great Parental Leave Act. And he is on Banking Committee, where he protects the consumers of America. Will all of you join me in welcoming this worthy inheritor of a proud Democratic heritage, Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lindy Boggs. It is truly a great honor indeed to be introduced by such a fine member of the House of Representatives and a great representative of the people of Louisiana. My fellow delegates, fellow Democrats, and particularly my fellow Democrats and delegates from the state of Connecticut and New England, tonight we meet with one great but simple purpose. We are here to nominate the next President of the United States. Shortly, we will make a political choice. We will choose between Michael Dukakis, a son of New England, and Jesse Jackson, a son of the South. But both of them and all of us have already made a far more important choice. We leave this hall and we leave this city together and ask the people of this nation to join us in making that far more important choice. It's a choice between two Americas, George Bush's America or Michael Dukakis's and Jesse Jackson's America. It's a choice between a government true to its long-held fundamental values or a government for sale to the highest bidder. It's a choice between a government that responds and adapts to change in the family, in the marketplace, in foreign relations, or a government so frozen in its narrow ideology that it stands still as the rest of the world passes by. Tonight, we are not a party in search of its soul. We are not a party struggling to decide whether we are a Michael Dukakis Democratic Party or a Jesse Jackson Democratic Party. During the long political season, from Iowa to California, culminating here in Atlanta, we have found, in the words of Jesse Jackson, that we have found the common ground. Michael Dukakis and Jesse Jackson represent a new generation of leadership for America. But they are not alone here tonight. Look around you. There is a new generation of leaders in America. We served in the Peace Corps and in Vista. We marched in Selma, Montgomery, and Washington. We came from the environmental movement, the consumer movement, the peace movement, the women's movement, and the names of some of our generation's best who would have been here tonight are scarred on the black wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Time and again in our generation, we have seen our nation stray from its values, the values we cherish at home, and the values that represent us abroad. Tonight, we are ready to take the tiller and steer our nation forward. In years past, many of you had been shut out of the process. Tonight, you are the process. It is up to us as Democrats, who reflect the diversity of this land, as Americans who know our government can do better. We are the party of Ellis Island and the party of Cape Canaveral. We are the party of slave ships and the party of the Silicon Valley. We're the party of the coal fields of Kentucky and the cornfields of Iowa, the steel mills of Pittsburgh and the office suites of Hartford, Connecticut. We are the party of hope. We are the party with the courage and the common sense to act on the best and basic values of Americans. We don't just talk about equality. We are the party that wrote the Civil Rights Act.